why use Keynote? There's a very good reason. It's so simple. It really is. I'm going to shock you how simple it is to use. But I have a confession to make. Back in the dark ages, occasionally I would have to use PowerPoint to create diagrams, and prior to that, freelance graphics, which was part of the Lotus suite, to produce diagrams. But these diagrams were printed onto acetates and then used on overhead projectors to go onto the screen. So it really was the dark ages. Right, fast forward several years, and I'm on the committee of an industrial archaeology society, and they were desperate for speakers. In fact, they were so desperate, they asked me to do a talk, or give them a talk on water towers of Norfolk. Well, there you go. So you're expecting that then I would have used Keynote, or I had Microsoft Office on the on my PC, on my Mac, which I think was a 24-inch at the time, 24-inch iMac. But I didn't. Now I'm just going to share my screen here. Share sound. Share. Right. Let me close that. And I've just got to jiggle the zoom controls because I'm using a very low resolution, so it shows up better for you. Right, so what I actually did is I simply used Preview, because Preview had the what was the Instant Alpha, and I made this collage of water towers around Norfolk as my title screen. And since I was just chatting about water towers and showing pictures of water towers and maps and stuff, I just simply used the previews slideshow feature. Anyway, part of this talk featured on this lovely old magnificent water tower built for Robert Walpole, as much a status symbol as it was a water supply feature. And then I went round to the side to show how you get onto the balcony, round the back, the door to the tank, and then when we visited the and you're thinking, what the hell does this have to do with Keynote? Well, one of the questions that I got asked at the end of my talk was, would I be prepared to do this talk again for a local history group? And at the same time, or a little bit later, I found, because this is snow leopard days, that Keynote 09, as it was then, had introduced a transition which I thought I would like to use. So when I went to the local history group, I used Keynote. I didn't know all the tricks that I'm going to show you today back then, but anyway, this was the feature I wanted. So here's that water tower again. So going round to the west door, that's where we go up to the balcony. That's the north face. There's the tank access, and there we all are. Now, I think that rotation of the image really does work well in this instance. And going back to the previous slide, I would normally have waved my laser pointer to point out this lintel here, but I used Keynote. There we go. That lintel there supports the water tank, which means that because of it's set so low down, it only supplied the ground floor of Houghton Hall. But that's neither here nor there. So, having done that presentation, I became a Keynote fanatic. So, The other thing I'm going to just tell you is I'm running on one of these new Mac Minis, which has come with Ventura, so anything could happen. But what it did allow me to see Keynote as it came out of the box. So I can tell you a few things that might be worth tweaking. And so a lot of this is my opinion, so you may disagree with me. So for a start, Keynote. Yeah. And that's what you see when you open Keynote. If you haven't used Keynote before, you won't have any recents. But as Apple does, Apple gives you plenty of templates to help you on your way. And to be honest, I find that though they've got some nice backgrounds and textured backgrounds that you could use, all these templates I just don't use. And I didn't when I was at work either. This is their latest idea, a dynamic background to cause even more distraction from the subject matter. The other thing the theme chooser gives you is the ability to choose between wide aspect ratio or more conventional 4:3. And I'll be using the 4:3 because that's the size of the images I'm using, and they fit more nicely on the screen. So choose that and create. And I was shocked that I got this. So it doesn't even look like an application. So the first thing I think you want to do is go to View, come down here and show the toolbar. And I think that's starting to look a bit more like an application. Before we go any further, there's a few tweaks I'd suggest that you make to settings or preferences, as it used to be called. And I'll send out a note with these tweaks. Here you can select the black theme if it's only the black theme that you're going to use. Obviously, if you were printing acetates, you would use white, but I'm going to leave it as is. On the slideshow, I suggest you may want to use show pointer when using mouse or trackpad. So if you're showing it onto a screen, you can actually use your cursor pointer to indicate features that you haven't previously got a green arrow for. And this one I would suggest exit presentation after last slide. I think if you accidentally forward too far, you're going to end your slideshow and then you need to restart it and go back. So to save that faff, I'd uncheck that. And one more, rulers. And the one here is place origin at center of ruler. I think that makes sense. So apart from that, we'll go back to the slideshow. Right now, I need to make a little adjustment here because of my small screen size. Yeah. And I need to, yeah, that's what I need to do. Right. Now, despite us choosing a black theme, Apple decided they're going to give us a template. Again, just as when I was at work, I get rid of it. They've got all these wonderful ones. My take is you want as big an image, as big a picture as possible so you can see the most detail. People don't come to read your slides. Like this one, why not have 3 full screen images rather than 3 smaller ones? So I'm suggesting you take the black one. And you don't need the templates because everything's so easy. So let's start with an opening slide. And I'm going to go up to insert, and I'm going to say insert text box. And we get this pops up, and all the formatting, which you're probably familiar with, has appeared on the right-hand side, similar to what you see in Numbers or Pages if you use them. So let's start typing. Right, apply a bit of formatting to that text. So we're on the formatting tab there. Select text. We'll make it a bit bigger so we can scroll up there. That'll be fine. We'll select the color. That'll do. And click away from the text. Click back to the text box. And we'll just raise it up a bit. Okay. So let's put in a subject. Now we could go back to the insert, but we have a handy text box on here, so we do that. Now you'll notice it's gone back to the default text format. So I'm just going to undo that. If you click the text box, hold down the Option key and drag away, you've now duplicated the same format. Now on the right hand side, you could, if this is the style you want for all your captions, you can update it or hit the arrow and choose a new paragraph style. So you can do that if you want. I'm not going to bother with that. So let's change this to the subject. Of course, we want that really big. Let's go up to 100. And I'll change the font. So this one, this is a non-standard font that I had previously imported, and that's what I call funky. So it needs a funky color. So rather than just go for a boring text color, we'll go for a gradient fill. I think that's got to be purple, hasn't it? That's hippie purple and hippie green. Let's get at the bottom there. Spring green. That's not registering. Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? Let's get rid of that. And of course, you just pull it across, pull it down, and it snaps. There we are, snapped in the middle. And perhaps just to finish it all off, we'll have a little logo. So got the smug logo there. Maybe make it on the, if you pull on the corners, you scale it up. Oh, there we go. It's snapped to the same height as the keynote title. We're equal distance away. And there we go. What could be simpler? So now to get those pictures into the slideshow. And the easiest way I found to do that, here's a folder of images. I'm just going to select most of them. Simply drag them to the sidebar like that and let go. There we go. We've got our slideshow. Job done. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. Okay, we can take it a bit further. As I said, the main reason we want to do this is the image. So we want to get this image or the subject matter as big as possible. And something you may have noticed, Apple has been very helpful. Well, it's not quite so. They've given us a title and bullets, because you've got to have bullets, haven't you? It's more than that they can sit in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all the slides and change them back to black, because that's what we want. Back here. Now, with Keynote, as like with most Apple products, there's multiple ways of doing things. So I'm just going to show you the most intuitive way to get this image bigger. I'm just going to pull down, not pull down on that white blob. Just make it a bit bigger up that way. And then we can center it by eye. That's fine. So that's that one done. Go on to the second one. Ah, that was the last one. No problems. We just hold this and we drag it down. I wonder what else has been out of sequence. Well, so we can drag it across like that to make these a bit bigger. Oh, yes, that's the tank door. That's the balcony door. Right, so that one needs to go up there. All right, so move that back over there again. So now we want to work on this one. Same thing. Pull it up. Put it down. And because we're going to be rotating this image, it might be an idea to get the peak here aligned centrally. So now we do the view, show rulers, and we can see it's virtually on the center line. I'll leave that. On to the next one. Same thing here. Put it up. Put it down. And again, we can move it across. Oh, no, that's about it. Nobody's going to notice. And on to the last side. Grab, pull down, pull up. Now, when we move this, it's sort of, you can see it snapping to the center there. We want to be slightly off center. So if you hold down the command key, that gives you complete freedom. So there we go. We've got that point lined up with the 0 up here. So let's see that now. Oh dear, we've gone a bit too far off the bottom. Never mind. So I'll click on the photo. Oh, we've got a problem. We can do the side bits, but we can't do the bottom bits because they're off the screen. Well, there's 2 or 3 ways we can sort this out. One of the easiest is to zoom out. We'll go to 75%. Oh, no, not good enough. Go to 100%. Sorry, going the wrong way. 50%. Ah, now we can see the handles, and we'll move that up a bit. Yeah. Let's scale that up a bit. We go back. There's another way. So we'll go back there. So yeah, that looks about right. We can go here and undo auto center. And now we've got these scroll bars. So we could have done it that way. So that's another way we could have resized that image. I'm just going to put that back to auto center. All right. So that's that bit. Now we come on to that rotation effect. It's called a transition, and a transition is how you get to the next slide, not how you get to this slide. So we've got to start at the first image and go to the penultimate image, because the transition on this penultimate image will be the way we get to the last image. So, as you might guess, that is an animation. So we've got an animate tab here. It says transitions, add an effect. And the effect is what they call cube. And we can, there's a little, if you hover over, it's got a preview there. That's the sort of thing we want. So you just click on it. And now that transition has been applied to all 4 slides. The duration of 1.5 seconds is just about right. You know, a lot of these defaults are right. It's even got the right rotation, left to right, so that's handy. We don't want that bounce. That's silly. And the transition should start on a click. So I'll just play that down. Boom, boom, boom. That leaves us with that one. But we haven't done the arrow. So let's go back here, put the arrow in. All right, so we want to insert. we look down here, there's an insert line, and then there's a line with arrowhead. Not quite the arrow we were expecting, I expect, but we can modify it. So, format. So this is the style. I'll make the arrow a bit bigger. Oh, we want the color. We want that nice lime green. That'll do. I think it's that one. It's brilliant. And simply by clicking it, you can drag it wherever you like. We're going to drag it there. And of course, we've got to get it here. When we came onto this slide, we don't want the arrow showing. So we want to bring it in with a click. So that's an animation. And it said build in, add an effect. And I think the one that I used was dissolve. But there's loads of them. There's drop. So you can really go to there's a flying. But the one I found is line draw. I quite like that. So I'm going to actually, yeah, I like that a lot. So I'm going to have that, but I'm going to make it a little bit more snappy. I think I'll do half a second, should be a preview that. Yep. That's too long and it's not at the angle I want it at. So just click the one, this end here, hold down the command key and it will rotate about the point. If you hold the option key down, it will rotate about its center and both ends will grow or shrink together. So there we go, we've got our arrow in. I'm just going to click on that again and put build order. And there it is, and it's going to come in on a click. So once we've got it there, we want to do an action. So I'll add an effect. And the effect we want is move. We want to just move it across like that. Well, we want to move it a bit further. Now we can mess about with, is that the one? Yeah, that's the right one. Or we can simply hand over it until we get the cross come up, pull it across till it's level. And that's that one done. And then, of course, we want it to spring back again. So we'll add an action and we'll do a move. But it's in the wrong direction. So we grab it and move it back to where we want it. All right. So let's look at the build order. So you can see it's coming in on a click. It's going to move on a click and move on. That's not what we want. We want that move to start straight after the build. And this move to start after that build. So close that down. And we'll just play this one. I'm happy with that. So we go on to the next slide. Now then, let me have a... In Keynote, there is a rudimentary photo editor. It's not Photoshop by any means, but if we click on the image itself, so we've got the images selected, and then we go up to format, and we want to format the image, we get these controls. Now, we've got edit mask, which is a crop tool. Now, I'm just going to move the zoom control for obscuring this. If you pull this across, you can zoom in. So let's zoom it into about there. And you can then move it about. So we'll centerize it. Yep, I think that's zoomed in enough. So we use done. Away again. Yes, so that was a bit simpler. Remove background. Well, it does what it says on the tin. I think that's fantastic. Yep. I'll say done to that. And if you really want to make that pop out, you may want a different background. And one way to do that would be to insert, put a shape in there. Can I see shape? There we go. Rectangle. And we'll have a nice bright rectangle. Red. Drag it. Arrange, and we send that to the back. So that really makes that pop. But we didn't have an annoying background, so I'm just going to undo all that. But I'm just showing you it's there if you want it. Right. Oh, a bit more. Oh, that's it. So obviously this was an event, and maybe we could have done with a title here. But we want the image to be as big as possible, and we haven't got anywhere really to write the title. So what I would do is I'd put a background on which to put some text. So I'm going to do insert shape, rounded rectangle. I'll just pull that out wherever. Now, an interesting. So these tabs sort of adjust the size of the rounded rectangle. But if you look up here, you've got a green dot as well. And if you move that green dot, you affect the radius. And a lot of the shapes that you can insert have one or more green dots, which will allow you to alter various characteristics of the shape. If it's a star, you can add more stars or control their pointiness. So, okay, we've got a background. We'll add some text. And this was a visit by the British Water Tower Appreciation Society in 2008. Click away from the text, click the text box, and we can line it up. No, we want to line up with that. I think that's about right. If you hold down the Command key, you can click the shape. So now we've got the shape and the text both selected. Going up to our arrange, we can group these articles together. So now we've got one item, which we can simply move wherever we like. If we realize we've made a spelling mistake or something, we can select that, arrange, ungroup, and then we can get in there and alter the text, but we'll undo that. So we've just got the one bit. So we'll just go do a little play. Now I think that looks a bit silly with this bit here being rotated. So what we can do, so we can click on that, animate, build in, add an effect. We'll go for that dissolve. I think it's fine. And we'll do a build order. And we want it to happen after the transition. This may sound complex, but you soon get used to going through all these panels. So play, line, rotate, and that pops in. Now, if I was normal, I would probably be more interested in these people than I was on the water tower. So perhaps we can zoom in on the people. So it's an effect. It's an animation effect. So we'll add an effect. And No, I'm into transitions. That's because I've got the slide selected and not the image. So I click on the image. So now we've got action, build effect, add an effect, and Apple calls zoom scale. So you can do the preview there. Right, so we'll have some of that. Well, that's not enough. So let's go to about there. That'll do. But it's not centered because they're slightly off center. So we can move to, yeah, I think that's about, that'll do. And now I will, right, click, and in they come. And this time it's worked well. Once when I was rehearsing for this presentation, whatever I did, I couldn't get the move and the zoom to happen at the same time. So I'll show you another way of moving stuff called magic move. So that's an alternative way if you do have the same problem that I had. And the other problem with this technique is if you have to have precise positioning of the second image, it's a bit difficult to work with this translucent overlay. So what I'll do is I'm going to duplicate this slide. So let me demonstrate magic move. I'm going to insert a new, what am I doing here? Sorry. Insert, I'm just right clicking or control clicking and introduce a new slide there. And magic move is primarily for moving stuff about on the screen. So luckily I have some stuff. And these are just some PNGs that I found on my Mac. I'll just pull them into this slide. And you can see they're all selected. So click away and we can start moving these bits of stuff about. We can move them about. This one I'm going to move up here. This one's got a background. Well, we know what to do with backgrounds. Well, format, image, remove the background. Right, that's done. And I'm going to pull that one down here. And this one, the old preview symbol, I'm going to rotate it. Hold down the Command key again. Give it a little, well, move that across there. Right, so we've now got a slide with some stuff on it. I'm going to duplicate this slide. So I was control clicking or right clicking, not delete, duplicate. All right. So we're on the second slide. And now we're going to maybe just make that a bit smaller, bring that down to the bottom. This one I'm going to straighten up. So onto the corner. Command key, but this time I'm going to hold down the Shift key as well. And there we go. It snaps to the 90 degree, 45 degrees. And we'll bring that down, make it a bit smaller. This one, I'm going to rotate. I didn't mean to do that. And bring it down. Make it a bit larger, and we'll grow the loudspeaker. There we go. That's good. So back to the first slide with the stuff on. Animate, transition, add an effect, and there's magic move. And it says magic move animates objects from this slide to their positions on the next slide. The two slides must have at least one object in common, but with a different appearance or position on each slide. Okay. That's quite nice, isn't it? I'll just do that one again, full screen. Right. So I'll show you how to do that on the previous screen. So that's really what Magic Move's all about. If we go back here, I'm going to duplicate that slide. I'm going to add a slide just for clarity, which is a new slide, which is just a blank slide. Right, this slide has already got the zoom effect. If we click on the image, we can see multiple actions. And the easiest way to get rid of them is if we look at the build order. You can see that's the title, and these are the move and scale. So I'll just delete that. Oh, I just deleted the wrong thing. Good job, there's Z. Let's maybe we'll do it one at a time. Delete that. Delete that. Right, so we've lost our zooming now. As before, we can duplicate the slide, and this time we want to zoom in. So we can't use the crop tool that we crop this image with, because it just doesn't work with the Magic Move. So we could either do what we did before and drag, or we can, that's that, format, arrange. And I happen to remember it was about 2000. So that's zoomed in. We can now bring this in, and now it might be clearer, especially with your rulers, to get this image spot on where you want it. So now we go back to the first slide and we add a transition, add the effect. The effect is Magic Move. So another way of doing the same thing. You've also got a duration, so you can change the duration of that zoom in. A disadvantage of doing it this way is you've now got two slides here where we only had one slide before. What we can do about that is we can pull this one in a section so it becomes subordinate to that, and we can simply fold it up so we only see one slide. Right, we've now got two slides that do effectively the same thing. So we could either delete one, or another technique you can do is you can skip this slide. We're actually skipping two slides. So as you can see there, it's two slides. So back to here, we play. There's our zoom, there's our blank slide, and there's our Magic Move. I'll get rid of that now. Right, but there's more. One of the things you can do, if you've got a brain like a sieve like I have, you'll forget lots of stuff. So you can add speaker notes. So if we go here to View, Show Presenter Notes, and it gives you an area where you can add some notes. So let's go back here, and we'll put in 1732. That's when it was built, and it is grade 1 listed. What other things can we do? Oh, on the tank, we might want to say that was 12,000 gallons. It was originally. Oh, and we've got a map here where we can say that's 1885. Right, so now you think, but you don't see those notes. Well, if you're giving a presentation and you've got a second, but you've got a big telly plugged up, or you're using an Apple TV and sending it to the Apple TV, or you've got a projector plugged in, the default way that the slide appears is the slide appears full screen on the target screen or on the projector. And what you see is something different. So we'll go to the top and I will press play. I'll use rehearse slideshow, and then you'll see what the presenter sees. Right, at the top left, we've got the current time. On the right, we've got how far we are through this presentation. Well, we haven't started. We've got the current slide, and this is being displayed on the projector as we speak, and we can see the next slide coming up. So I will go forward, and we're now showing the Houghton water tower, which was built in 1732 and is grade 1 listed. And you can see what's happening. Now, you probably noticed the green bar at the top turned red. Whilst it's red, you cannot progress to the next slide because it's got a build in progress. So you could have a very complicated build where there's multiple things flying in and being turned around, whatever. So we'll just go on again, and we'll go to the arrow. So here we've got, on the left, we've got slide 5. On the right, we've got slide 5 with its build. So we'll do that. And then we've got the 12,000 gallons. And the magic move. And you notice the second zoom in of the people on the balcony wasn't displayed because that's been skipped. And then we go to the map. Now, you see that you've got show navigator here. It's not a good idea to have the navigator in the current layout showing because that's masking your speaker notes, but it does allow you to skip about whatever slide you want. But everything is tailorable. If you go here, you can decide what things you want displayed or what things you don't, and you can customize it and move stuff about. So it's very, very flexible. Anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, let me just check this. Next thing I want to show you, I'm going to hide the speaker notes, presenter notes. I want to show you a different view, is a light table. And this might be easier for you to rearrange your pictures on. These two are grayed out because they're the two images or two slides that we're not showing. I'm going to make this a little bit, you make them larger, you make them a bit smaller. Right, so we can move things around. So we can move that one after these Spanish gentlemen, and we'll move that one like that. And of course, if you've got other images, you can drag those onto this light table and move them to wherever you want. You might notice that here, here, and here we've got a little indicator to show that we've got speaker notes attached to these slides. So I'm going back to our common navigator slide. There we go. Right. This one's obviously to do with the water tower. When this may not come across very well on Zoom. If you're watching this with a bright projector in a darkened room, going from this image to that is quite shocking. You know, that is a, so whilst I say be very sparing with your transitions, I went to a talk where a guy used a different transition between every slide. It's very distracting. I have a default transition, which I recommend you using, and it's almost a non-transition. So I'll select these slides here. Animate, so it's a transition, add an effect, and it's the dissolve effect. Now we don't want that fade through really, but if we whip it down to 1/4 of a second, 0.3 will do, it will make everything less jarring. Sorry, I should have put it on that one as well. Add an effect, dissolve. So if we now play that, so you may not notice, but it's slightly less jarring than, it's not something you really notice, but it's just my tip, take it or leave it. Okay, let's go back here. Obviously this map, that's the water tower, that's the well where they had a donkey wandering around in circles pumping the water. So that belongs up here. Well, it belongs there, doesn't it, really? And to tidy up this sidebar, we can do the same thing here. Select that one, select that. So we've got all these, move them to the right. So they're subordinate to the slide 2. And we can just scrunch it up. And we could do the same thing with these Spanish guys. Mad, if you ask me. Right. And that brings us to my crazy friend celebrating the Battle of Trafalgar in his own way. So here he is holding a fizzing rocket. And the next slide is, it's gone. So I wanted some way to go from there to there and to give some movement. So we've got our default transition of dissolve. So I'm going to change that. And then I started looking for some effects. And I thought I'd found the one I needed. I'm down to confetti. We preview that. That's quite good. I thought, yeah, I found it. But I found something better. Fade through color. Well, it doesn't look that brilliant, but we'll go with it. Trust me. But we don't want black, so that's what we've got. What we want is that shocking orange. But that's too long. We'll go down to 0.1 of a second. Yeah, we'll play that. But it is missing something, isn't it? It really is missing something. We want a bang there, really. So where do we get a bang from? Right. Like Blue Peter, I've got something prepared. I can find, there it is. Let me get rid of that. I've gone to a website called Zapsplat, zapsplat.com, and I've created a free account, and you can download these sound effects free of charge and use them in your presentations, so long as you give them attributations where you got the sound from. Or you can pay a subscription and you don't need to attribute the sounds. So I'm logged in. I've searched for fireworks, and I'm on page 2 of 106 result for fireworks. And here's one. You can test them here. So let's play that one. I hope you can all hear that one. But the one that I've settled on, this one. So once we've found our sound effect, we simply click on the MP3 because we don't web stuff. Download the MP3. Yeah, we'll put it there. Save that. Now the question is, there's our MP3 file. How do we get that into here? Well, it's simple. I said simply pop it there. Just drag and drop. Unbelievably simple. And preview that. What's going to happen there? Nothing. All right. Right. So select that. Build order. It's going to come in with a click. We don't want a click. We want it after the transition. So now go back and we'll play. And I think that works. So let's go out with a bang. And right, I said there's some stuff in the chat. Let me just see if there's any questions there.
There aren't any questions.
Oh, right. Thank you. Let me get that.
I'm watching.
Thank you, Mike. Right. So we're getting towards the end. So we'll add a slide. New slide. And we probably want to end with something like bit. So format. Yes, text box. Yeah. No, I want to select the text. Format. Text. That's it. I'm going to change the font to one I like. On my defaults, the annotate. Make it a little bit bigger. Change the color to grey. Yep, that'll do. But I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to add another slide. That was a right click, by the way. I'm going to create an index file or an index slide. So we'll go back to this one here. I'm going to click on the image. I'm going to copy, Command C. I'm going down to the bottom, simply paste it. There's probably a more elegant way of doing this, but I'm just going to do the grab and resize to whatever size I think is pretty. Pop it there. Go to this slide. We've got a problem, Houston. Well, there's two ways of sorting this out, or there's probably more than two ways. Just click away. Let's click onto that. One way is to simply do Command-Shift-4. Do a partial screenshot, bonk, and then drag that into our presentation. Or another way is click onto one of the items, Command-A to select all of them, Command-C to copy them, down to our slide, Command-V to paste them all, and you can see the pasted ones are all selected, arrange, group, so they're now one image, and we can make them a bit smaller. That's that. Yep. So that's now the same height. So we can bring that in there. So that's our second slide. Sorry about that. Let me get rid of Keyboard Maestro. And quick, stop that happening. So click on the copy. Down to this slide. Paste. And again, we're going to resize. Same size. Line it up and we bring it in. Yep, so that's good. And finally, this fellow here. Copy. Paste. Line that up. Now, you may wonder what the point of all this is. Well, there's something you can do. Is if you select that image and you go up to Format and click on that, down here, there is Add Link. And we can link to a phone number, an email, I don't know what you do with a phone number, a web page or a slide, which is the default, or the Command K. So we'll have some of that. So that slide is slide 13, we can see in the sidebar. So we will select slide and do 13. This one, we can just do Command K. And from memory, that's slide 2. This one we can see slide 8. So Command K, slide 8. This one we can see slide 11. Slide. No, slide 10. Right, so this means when we're in the play mode, we'll go to that slide, got that up, and we get some questions, and we're a little unsure what topic they're after. We can show this so people can say, yeah, I want to see those Spanish chaps. All you need to do is mouse over that, click on it, and you go straight to that slide. But the only way back at the moment is for that chap. So less than ideal. But the way around that is, let's go back to the top one. We can make this picture a link back to the bottom, or we could might want to introduce a logo or something. This image of the Newton-le-Willows water tower, first reinforced concrete public supply tower in the UK, I use as my sort of avatar. So we'll put that a bit there. And remember the Command K. And we want to go to the last slide. Now it gets better. If we now click that, that image has that link associated with it. So by a mere Command C, yeah, not ideally placed, but you get the idea, don't you? You might want to just put this on the last slide of a section, you know, so like down here and that one. Right, so now when we do a slideshow, and we've finished, play, go to that, we can go to the Spanish chappies, go through, and we don't need to see my friend there. We can go straight back to this. into that one, click on the water and back to that. Right, so those are the things that I think are good to incorporate in a slideshow.
Ferrers, can I interrupt for a second?
Of course.
So we've got a couple of questions that are related in chat. So if this is a good time to hit them.
Yes, certainly.
Dale, would you like to kick off and unmute and ask Ferrers your question?
Sure. I was distracted in the beginning and I missed how you brought all those pictures in and had them loaded onto separate slides on full screen. I've been doing that manually, creating like 10 blank slides and then import one picture at a time.
Oh, right, okay. So we want to add some more, but I've only got these handy. So you want to add some more slides to this slideshow?
Yep.
Right, okay. Probably the easiest place to do it. You can either come here and then just slide into the sidebar there. And so now we've got some more slides put in.
That's too easy.
It is, isn't it? That's what I say.
Hey, welcome to the world of Macs.
Using it is because it is so simple. Or maybe better, view the slide table. We go back here and we'll get these people in. And then we can distribute them wherever we want to.
That was worth my time. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm pleased about that.
Brilliant. And we have a question from Keith Dickerson. Would you like to unmute, Keith, and ask your question?
Hello, Ferrers. The links you put on the final slide, if you were to go back and add further slides or insert them before the slides where those links went to go to, would the links automatically update to be the right slides?
I don't know. So we'll find out, because we've put links. Let's go here. So let's do a play. Go to that one. It looks like it, doesn't it? So that was slide 13 before, wasn't it? Where did we insert those? Right, these have been inserted, haven't they? But we didn't have one for there. I know what. Let's get some more and put them in at the beginning. So we'll have these people, and we'll insert those there. Right, so we'll delete that one because that's a new one we've just added, isn't it? So if we go to my friend and we get a bang, these are the original ones, but in new positions. Right. And if we go, so the answer is yes, it does update them so that it's dynamic. So and we can go. And of course, this number 24 is, sorry, 25 is, I think was about number 14. So we'll place it from the top here. So we'll go forward, yep, and we click on that. No, that one has been out of order.
But you told that one to go to the last slide.
Yeah, it's. Ah, yes, that's right. You're right. So it did work. So if I'd rather than going to the last slide, I would have put a specific. It would work, but you wouldn't be adding slides after the index slide. The only thing you would add is perhaps a second index slide. So, yeah, I think really we can say that. So we wouldn't put those there. If we move those to there, and we go back to here, play, click. Yeah. So yeah. So that's good. Now, on this topic, I thought of a question which I didn't know the answer to, is if you're using a big screen and you're projecting on the big screen and you're sitting at your laptop, how do you use this navigation system? Now, you could put your screens into a mirroring, but the answer is you have to navigate your mouse to the big screen or the display screen. And what you need to do is, if we go into system settings, and we want, it's general. About displays, display settings. Now you will see here all your displays. So you'll have your projector here or your big telly, and there will be a button here that says arrange, and you can arrange where logically the other screen is. It can be above, below, this side, that side. So if you've got it positioned above your current display, you have to move your mouse up and it'll shoot off this display and go on to the display where your index slide is. We don't need that anymore. Any more questions at the minute?
Yeah, there's a comment from Dale. Dale, which I don't completely understand because I'm an idiot. Could you just explain?
I just wanted to point out, I used to use these slide linking features to mock up applications back when I worked for a living. And you can do the same thing for web pages. So you can create what you want a user interface to look like with little buttons, and then just put a link on that button to go to the next slide, which would be
right.
what you want the software developer to make the next screen look like.
Yes.
And it starts feeling like a real computer real quick when there's really no guts behind it. It's just slipping slides in and out.
The only thing with navigating like that, if you've got and you could then do mirror displays, so both your, shall we say, your laptop and the projector are showing the same image, but then you wouldn't get the you wouldn't get the presenter notes if you're relying on the presenter notes and the build sequences. So yeah, but you've got that being displayed by the projector. So yeah.
And you can just use it for yourself. You don't even have to use it to create a presentation. Just use it as okay, I'm going to make a website and I want these kind of pictures on the front page. And then I want these as this is about me. And
oh, great. I see what you mean. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you build in the hierarchy of a website. Yeah, I like that.
Right. With no HTML involved.
Yeah. I wonder if you can export to HTML. Look at that. Which brings me on to another point. If you've put a lot of work into a slideshow and it's not ephemeral, and you think you might need it again, not only do I say file, save, just call it slug. So we'll do that. So obviously we'll save it as a Keynote. The one problem with Keynote is if you put this onto another Mac and its version of Keynote isn't as up to date as this one, there's a very, very good chance that it won't open. Not that it just won't display the new features, it just won't open. So I would always suggest that you do an export to PowerPoint, even if you don't have a copy of PowerPoint. So there we are, so PPTX. And so it says some change were made to your exported presentation. Gradient text fills may look different. So there'll be some differences. Most of the stuff will be preserved. So you can, if you've got an older version of Keynote, it will open and you'll get most of it. And I've even heard of cases where a very old Keynote presentation can't be opened by a very modern Keynote. And exporting to Keynote 09 is just disastrous. I had a friend, I was out of sync with the Keynote. And I said, I know, save it as pages 09 and I'll open that. Not pages 09, Keynote 09, I'll open that. And that was a disaster. And it was really basic slides. It was just, you know, text really. So what we did is we saved it as a PowerPoint, and then I opened the PowerPoint, and then we just abandoned Keynote and just used PowerPoint. But what we were doing, it was fine. Okay, so that's what you should do. What shouldn't you do? And again, this is me on my soapbox here. Right. Now, I advocate keeping slides very, very uncluttered and simple. I've seen slides like this. I kid you not. What the hell is going on? Are you listening to me or are you reading that text? And I have seen presentations with all this rubbish going on. And I've seen many presentations with way more text on the screen than there is on this slide. So you can't read a book and listen to somebody at the same time, can you? I suppose ladies can, because they multitask, but I don't believe it. And of course, some people think a presentation isn't a presentation unless you've got bullet points. That's what I think of bullets. And this, I think, is another thing, is if you do have bullet points, and sometimes you do need them, I understand that, but just think about it. When you saw that slide come up, you read the whole caboodle. You didn't listen to me say about how bullets were designed to kill people, etc. So if you do need to use bullets, bring them in one at a time. If you saw my presentation on automation, I asked the question, why automate your Mac? So it makes life easy. You get repeatability and accuracy, and you get speed. Now, I think that's better, but that's a pretty forgettable slide, isn't it? You're not going home with that image. So when I asked the question why, I said, because I'm lazy and it's easy. It makes my life easy. You get accurate results and it's fast. And I think that makes more of an impact. So, and of course, we're talking Apple here. So there's got to be one more thing. And I'll just, no, I don't run the window. We'll go back to that. We'll go to the view navigator. And we'll go to this one, and we'll go to view navigator. If you've created this masterpiece of animation here, and you wish to use it again, you can just click on your masterpiece, hold down the Option key, and drag it into your presentation here. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And with that, I'm going to reuse this masterpiece and say, thank you for your time, and any more questions? I'll stop my screen share.